Imagine finding a quarter in an old drawer, a forgotten coin jar, or a box of family keepsakes, and discovering that an exceptional example, connected to this historic design, has been associated with a value as high as $683,000. At first glance, nothing about it seems extraordinary. It is only 25 cents. But look at the dates, 1776 to 1976. Those numbers tell you immediately that this was never intended to be an ordinary quarter. To understand why collectors still examine these coins so carefully, we have to return to America in the mid-1970s. The United States was approaching its 200th birthday. 2 centuries had passed since the Declaration of Independence in 1776, and the country was preparing for a massive national celebration. Bicentennial events were being organized across America. Historic sites were receiving renewed attention. Patriotic imagery appeared everywhere, and the nation was looking back at the people and events that shaped its beginning. The U.S. coinage system became part of that celebration. Instead of allowing everyday coins to remain unchanged, Congress authorized special bicentennial designs for the quarter dollar, half dollar, and dollar. These were coins ordinary Americans could actually carry, spend, and save. History was not being locked away inside a museum display. It was being placed directly into people's pockets. That is what makes the 1776 to 1976 Washington quarter so fascinating. Turn the coin over and the familiar eagle normally seen on Washington quarters is gone. In its place is a colonial drummer, accompanied by a victory torch surrounded by 13 stars. The reverse was designed by Jack L. Eyre, whose design was selected through a national competition. On the obverse, George Washington remains, but beneath his portrait appears the unusual jewel. Date: 1776 to 1976. Hold one today and think about what those dates represent. One points toward the birth of the United States. The other marks its bicentennial celebration 200 years later. And millions of these coins quietly entered circulation. People received them at grocery stores. Children dropped them into piggy banks. Families saved rolls of them as souvenirs. Others were spent repeatedly until the surfaces became worn. Most people never noticed anything beyond the special drummer design. That is where collector psychology becomes interesting. When enormous numbers of a commemorative coin are produced, people naturally assume that every example must be common. And in ordinary circulated condition, bicentennial quarters generally are common. But experienced collectors do not ask only, how many were made? They ask a much more important question. What exactly am I looking at? For a 1776 to 1976 quarter with no mint mark, the investigation begins with Philadelphia production. But the absence of a mint mark alone is not what creates an extraordinary coin. The real examination begins with condition, strike quality, surfaces, composition. Special collector versions were also produced in different compositions, including silver containing. Issues associated with San Francisco. Collector sets, that means identifying the exact type of quarter you own is extremely important before assuming anything about its value. And this is where collector psychology becomes fascinating. A coin can be extremely common in ordinary condition while becoming considerably more desirable in an exceptional grade. Collectors often compete for the finest surviving examples. Why? Because collecting is not simply about owning the date. It is about owning one of the best examples of that date. Imagine 2 identical 1776 to 1976 quarters. One spent decades circulating through thousands of hands. Its surfaces are worn, the design is flat, and scratches cover Washington's face. The second was preserved almost immediately after production. Its surfaces remain bright, the strike is sharp, and the details look almost untouched. Technically, both coins carry the same date. To the advanced collector. However, they can exist in completely different categories. That is why value progression matters. Typical circulated examples may only carry modest collector premiums. Better preserved coins can be worth more. High-grade certified examples can attract stronger interest. And extraordinary coins, especially pieces with exceptional preservation, important varieties, unusual minting characteristics, or elite certification, can move into an entirely different level of the market. But a headline value such as $683,000 should never be assumed for every bicentennial quarter. A major valuation requires very specific circumstances. Authentication, composition, variety, condition, grading, and provenance all matter. If you discover one of these quarters, do not immediately clean it. Do not polish it. Do not scratch the surface trying to test the metal. Hold it carefully by the edges and begin with a simple inspection. Check the date. Look for the mint mark area. Study the drummer. Examine the lettering. Inspect the edge. Compare the coin with verified examples. And if something truly appears unusual or exceptionally well preserved, professional authentication may be the next step. Because this is what makes the 1776 to 1976 quarter dollar so fascinating. It was created to celebrate history. It quietly entered everyday American life. Millions of people handled these coins without giving them a second thought. And even today, examples remain in collections, jars, inherited boxes, and forgotten drawers across the country. Most will be ordinary, but collectors continue searching because occasionally, one coin can stand apart from all the others. And the next coin we are about to examine carries a completely different mystery, one that may not announce itself with a "What if the Washington quarter sitting in your pocket, coin jar, or old family collection is not just worth 25 cents, but could be the kind of coin collectors are willing to pay serious money to own?" Today, we are investigating the 1994D Washington quarter, a coin that looks completely ordinary at first glance but can become extremely interesting when the right combination of condition, strike quality, unusual characteristics, and collector demand comes together. Some online listings and marketplace claims for unusual or supposedly rare examples have reached figures as high as $299,000. But before you get excited, remember that an asking price is not the same thing as a confirmed sale. So if you have a 1994D quarter, it might turn the tables for you, but only if you know exactly what to look for. Stick around until the end because we are going to talk about its potential value, what separates an ordinary quarter from a collectible example, and how you can determine whether yours deserves a closer examination. The 1994D Washington quarter was produced at the Denver Mint, and that small D mint mark is one of the first details you should check. You can find it on the obverse of the coin, near Washington's portrait. Millions of these quarters were made for everyday commerce, so the date and mint mark by themselves do not automatically make the coin rare. Most 1994D quarters that have circulated heavily are still common coins. That is exactly why this coin is so interesting, because collectors are not simply searching for the date. They are searching for exceptional survivors. Take your quarter and look carefully at George Washington's portrait. Pay attention to the hair, cheek, jawline, and the fields surrounding the portrait. A quarter that spent years moving through cash registers, vending machines, pockets, and coin counters will normally show scratches, contact marks, dullness, and wear. But occasionally, a coin survives with unusually clean surfaces and strong original mint luster. The better the preservation, the more seriously advanced collectors may examine it. Now inspect the lettering. Look closely at Liberty, "In God We Trust," the date 1994, and especially the D mint mark. You are looking for anything that appears noticeably different from a normal 1994D quarter. Some collectors search for signs that could be associated with die doubling, unusual die deterioration, strike anomalies, or other minting characteristics. However, this is where authentication becomes extremely important. Machine doubling, circulation damage, scratches, and post-mint alterations can easily be mistaken for genuine mint errors. Turn the quarter over and examine the reverse. Look closely at the eagle, its feathers, the lettering United States of America, quarter dollar, and E pluribus unum. Strong details can be important when evaluating the overall quality of the strike. If the coin appears unusually, dramatically reduce its desirability. The edge deserves attention as well. A normal Washington quarter should have a reeded edge. Examine it carefully for anything obviously unusual. But remember that damage acquired after the coin left the mint is not a mint error. Collectors want characteristics that can be traced back to the production process rather than damage caused by Decades of circulation. Weight can provide another useful clue. A standard 1994. Washington quarter is a copper-nickel-clad coin with a nominal weight of approximately 5.67 grams. A small difference can result from normal tolerances or circulation wear. So weight alone does not prove that you have a valuable error. But if a coin shows a significant and unexplained difference, that may justify further professional examination. This is where many people misunderstand rare coin values. They see an online listing asking thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, and assume every coin with the same date must have that value. That is not how the professional coin market works. Sellers can ask almost any amount on an online marketplace. The evidence that matters most is what? Authenticated and accurately. Graded examples have actually sold for in reputable transactions and auctions. So when you encounter claims approaching $299,000 for a 1994D Washington quarter on eBay or another online platform, investigate the claim rather than treating the number as an automatic market value. Ask whether the coin actually sold at that price. Was it certified by a recognized grading service? Did it have a documented mint error or extraordinary variety? What was its grade? Was the transaction completed? These questions can separate a meaningful market result from an ambitious asking price. For most circulated 1994D quarters, there is no life-changing payday. Their value is generally modest. But as condition improves, collector interest can increase. High-grade examples with strong eye appeal are more desirable, and genuinely authenticated mint errors or unusual varieties can create an entirely different market. At the highest level, tiny differences in grade can produce surprisingly large differences in collector demand. If your coin looks almost untouched, has exceptional luster, unusually clean surfaces, or shows a strange feature that appears to have occurred during minting, do not clean it and do not immediately spend it. Handle it carefully by the edges and compare it with authenticated examples. For potentially important coins, professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC can help determine authenticity, grade, and whether a suspected minting error is genuine. And if you eventually decide to sell, the best route depends on what you actually have. Ordinary coins may not justify professional grading fees, while genuinely rare, high-grade, authenticated error coins may benefit from certification before being.
Imagine reaching into an old coin jar, pulling out an ordinary-looking quarter, and discovering that one tiny detail could make collectors stop and look twice. Today we're talking about the 1995D Washington quarter dollar, a coin that millions of Americans handled without giving it a second thought. But certain exceptional examples, rare errors, and extraordinary high-grade pieces can attract serious collector attention. Some online listings have even attached eye-catching, asking prices reaching as high as $293,000. If you have a 1995D quarter, it might turn the tables for you. So stick around because we're going to explore what makes this coin interesting, what details you should check, and how collectors determine whether a quarter is ordinary or potentially valuable. And stay until the end for the price discussion and how you can sell your coin. The 1995D Washington quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, which is why you will find the small letter D on the coin. At first glance, there is nothing particularly unusual about it. George Washington appears on the obverse, while the familiar American eagle dominates the reverse. This was the classic Washington quarter design used long before the state quarters program transformed American pocket change. More than 1.1 billion 1995D Washington quarters were produced, so the date itself is not rare. That is extremely important to understand. Finding a 1995D quarter does not automatically mean you have a coin worth thousands of dollars. Most circulated examples remain common and are generally worth around their face value. The excitement begins when a particular coin has something that separates it from the enormous number of ordinary examples. One of the first things collectors examine is condition. Think about what normally happens to a quarter after leaving the mint. It falls into cash registers, vending machines, pockets, drawers, jars, and bankrolls. It collides with other coins thousands of times. Every scratch, mark, and bit of wear can reduce its appeal. Now imagine finding a 1995D quarter that somehow escaped almost all of that damage. Its original mint luster remains strong. Washington's portrait looks exceptionally clean, and the eagle on the reverse retains crisp detail. Coins preserved at extremely high. Mint state grades can be dramatically more desirable than heavily circulated pieces. This is why professional grading can matter. Grading companies evaluate factors such as surface preservation, strike quality, luster, eye appeal, and evidence of wear. Two quarters carrying exactly the same date and mint mark can have very different market values because one may be circulated while another survives in an exceptional grade. But condition isn't the only thing worth checking. More dramatic examples, especially those retaining a readable date and mint mark, can attract significant collector interest. You should also inspect the coin for die cracks or die chips. Dies experience enormous pressure while striking coins, and as they deteriorate, cracks or broken areas can transfer unusual raised features onto the finished quarter. Larger and more dramatic examples are generally more interesting to error collectors than tiny, common imperfections. There's another factor that many beginners completely overlook: originality. Never polish or aggressively clean a potentially valuable quarter. Cleaning may make a coin look brighter, but collectors and professional grading services can often detect altered surfaces. Original mint luster and naturally preserved surfaces are major components of collector appeal. This leads us to perhaps the biggest factor of all: grade. Professional grading uses the Sheldon scale, which runs up to mint state 70 for circulation-type coins. A circulated 1995 D quarter and an extraordinary mint state example can belong to completely different markets. At the highest grades, tiny differences matter. One small scratch on Washington's cheek, a contact mark in an important area, weaker strike quality, or impaired luster can separate one grade from another. And when only a tiny number of coins survive at an elite level, collectors may compete aggressively for the finest examples. That's why you should never judge a potentially important coin from photographs alone. If you believe you've discovered an exceptional 1995 D Washington quarter, compare it with authenticated examples and consider having it examined by a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service. Certification can establish authenticity, identify important varieties or errors, and determine the coin's condition. And now we come to the number you've been waiting for. Under exceptional circumstances, rare varieties, major errors, or extraordinary top-grade examples associated with this coin can be discussed at values reaching around $293,000. But remember, that does not mean every 1995 D Washington quarter is worth $293,000. Ordinary circulated examples are generally worth dramatically less. The exact value depends on authenticity, condition, grade, error type, rarity, and current collector demand. So don't immediately spend that old quarter sitting in your collection. Check the 1995 date, find the D mint mark, examine both sides under magnification, and pay particular attention to doubling, striking errors, die cracks, original luster, and unusually clean surfaces. Because sometimes the difference between ordinary pocket change and a serious collector coin can be hidden in details most people never bother to examine. And if you have a 1995 D Washington quarter and want to know its possible price and how you can sell it, comment price. Imagine reaching into an old coin jar, pulling out an ordinary-looking quarter, and discovering that one tiny detail could make collectors stop and look twice. Today we're talking about the 1995 D Washington quarter dollar, a coin that millions of Americans handled without giving it a second thought. But certain exceptional examples, rare errors, and extraordinary high-grade pieces can attract serious collector attention. Some online listings have even attached eye-catching, asking prices reaching as high as $293,000. If you have a 1995 D quarter, it might turn the tables for you. So stick around because we're going to explore what makes this coin interesting, what details you should check, and how collectors determine whether a quarter is ordinary or potentially valuable. And stay until the end for the price discussion and how you can sell your coin. The 1995 D Washington quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, which is why you will find the small letter D on the coin. At first glance, there is nothing particularly unusual about it. George Washington appears on the obverse, while the familiar American eagle dominates the reverse. This was the classic Washington quarter design used long before the state quarters program transformed. American pocket change. More than 1.1 billion 1995 D Washington quarters were produced, so the date itself is not rare. That is extremely important to understand. Finding a 1995 D quarter does not automatically mean you have a coin worth thousands of dollars. Most circulated examples remain common and are generally worth around their face value. The excitement begins when a particular coin has something that separates it from the enormous number of ordinary examples. One of the first things collectors examine is condition. Think about what normally happens to a quarter after leaving the mint. It falls into cash registers, vending machines, pockets, drawers, jars, and bankrolls. It collides with other coins thousands of times. Every scratch, mark, and bit of wear can reduce its appeal. Now imagine finding a 1995 D quarter that somehow escaped almost all of that damage. Its original mint luster remains strong. Washington's portrait looks exceptionally clean, and the eagle on the reverse retains crisp detail. Coins preserved at extremely high. Mint state grades can be dramatically more desirable than heavily circulated pieces. This is why professional grading can matter. Grading companies evaluate factors such as surface preservation, strike quality, luster, eye appeal, and evidence of wear. Two quarters carrying exactly the same date and mint mark can have very different market values because one may be circulated while another survives in an exceptional grade. But condition isn't the only thing worth checking. More dramatic examples, especially those retaining a readable date and mint mark, can attract significant collector interest. You should also inspect the coin for die cracks or die chips. Dies experience enormous pressure while striking coins, and as they deteriorate, cracks or broken areas can transfer unusual raised features onto the finished quarter. Larger and more dramatic examples are generally more interesting to error collectors than tiny, common imperfections. There's another factor that many beginners completely overlook: originality. Never polish or aggressively clean a potentially valuable quarter. Cleaning may make a coin look brighter, but collectors and professional grading services can often detect altered surfaces. Original mint luster and naturally preserved surfaces are major components of collector appeal. This leads us to perhaps the biggest factor of all: grade. Professional grading uses the Sheldon scale, which runs up to mint state 70 for circulation-type coins. A circulated 1995 D quarter and an extraordinary mint state example can belong to completely different markets. At the highest grades, tiny differences matter. One small scratch on Washington's cheek, a contact mark in an important area, weaker strike quality, or impaired luster can separate one grade from another. And when only a tiny number of coins survive at an elite level, collectors may compete aggressively for the finest examples. That's why you should never judge a potentially important coin from photographs alone. If you believe you've discovered an exceptional 1995 D Washington quarter, compare it with authenticated examples and consider having it examined by a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service. Certification can establish authenticity, identify important varieties or errors, and determine the coin's condition. And now we come to the number you've been waiting for. Under exceptional circumstances, rare varieties, major errors, or extraordinary top-grade examples associated with this coin can be discussed at values reaching around $293,000. But remember, that does not mean every 1995 D Washington quarter is worth 293,000 ordinary circulated examples are generally worth dramatically less. The exact value depends on authenticity, condition, grade, error type, rarity, and current collector demand. So don't immediately spend that old quarter sitting in your collection. Check the 1995 date, find the D mint mark. Examine both sides under magnification, and pay particular attention to doubling, striking errors, die cracks, original luster and unusually clean surfaces, because sometimes the difference between ordinary pocket change and a serious collector coin can be hidden in details. Most people never bother to examine. And if you have a 1995 D Washington quarter and want to know its possible price and how you can sell it, comment price. A tiny 1-cent coin can pass through thousands of hands without anyone stopping to look at it. It can sit in a change jar, fall between car seats, or hide in an old drawer for years. But sometimes the smallest coin carries the biggest surprise. The 1992 D Lincoln penny is one of those coins collectors tell people to check carefully, because rare examples connected to errors, varieties, and exceptional condition have been discussed online with values reaching up to $171,000 on platforms like eBay and other auction-style listings. If you have this coin, it might turn the tables for you after this intro, so stick around until the end because I will explain what to check, why it can be valuable, and how you can sell it if your penny has the right rare details. The 1992 D Lincoln penny was struck at the Denver Mint, and that small D mint mark below the date is the first detail you need to notice. Most people look at a penny and only see 1 cent, but collectors look deeper. They look at the mint mark, the design spacing, the letters, the strike, the surface, the color, the edge, and even the weight. A normal 1992 D penny may not be worth much more than face value, but a rare variety or a high grade example can become something completely different. The biggest reason collectors pay attention to the 1992 penny family is because of the famous close AM variety. On the reverse side of the coin, look at the words 1 cent, and then look closely at United States of America. The important area is in the word America, on. Some rare pieces, the letters A and M in America appear very close together. This is known as the close AM variety, and it is one of the most famous modern Lincoln penny details collectors search for. To understand why this matters, you need to know that small design changes can create big collector interest. Most people never check the spacing between letters on the back of a penny. They only look at the date and maybe the mint mark. But serious collectors know that the reverse design can reveal whether the coin came from a normal die or a rare transitional style. That small spacing between the A and M can make the difference between an ordinary penny and a coin worth serious attention. Now, not every 1992 D penny is a close AM. In fact, most are common. That is why careful inspection is everything. Turn the coin over and look at the word America. If the bottom of the A and M are almost touching, that is the detail collectors want to see. If there is a clear gap between them, it is usually the more common style. You may need a magnifying glass or a phone camera zoom to check it properly, because this is not always easy to see with the naked eye. Another detail collectors check is the designer initials near the Lincoln Memorial. On many Lincoln cents, the initials FG appear near the base of the memorial. The position and clarity of these initials can help collectors compare it with verified examples. Condition is the next major factor. A rare variety in poor condition may still be interesting, but the highest values usually belong to coins with strong details, clean surfaces, and professional grading. Look at Lincoln's face, hair, bow tie, coat, and the date. If the coin is heavily scratched, dark, corroded, bent, or cleaned, the value can drop. But if the coin has sharp details, original color, and strong mint luster, it becomes much more attractive to collectors. Color also matters with Lincoln pennies. Copper-plated zinc cents can appear red, red-brown, or brown depending on preservation and exposure. Collectors usually prefer bright original red examples, especially in high grade. But do not try to clean the coin to make it look red or shiny. Cleaning can ruin the surface and destroy collector value. A coin with natural original color is always better than a polished coin. The 1992D penny is also important because it belongs to the zinc cent era. Since 1982, most Lincoln cents have been made from copper-plated zinc. That means these coins can show plating problems, bubbles, cracks, and surface issues. Some people mistake damage for mint errors, so be careful. A real mint error happens during production, while damage happens after the coin leaves the mint. Collectors pay for genuine mint errors, not random damage. You should also check for double die features. Look closely at the date, the word liberty, and in God we trust if the letters appear doubled in a strong and consistent way. The coin may need further inspection. But remember, machine doubling is common and usually not as valuable as a true double die. A true double die has a more defined, separated look, while machine doubling often looks flat or shelf-like. This is why authentication matters. Another possible valuable feature is an off-center strike. If your 1992D penny was struck off-center and the design is visibly shifted, it can interest error collectors. The value depends on how dramatic the shift is and whether the date and mint mark are still visible. Coins with clear dates and strong errors usually attract more attention than errors where the coin cannot be identified. You should also inspect the rim and edge. If the rim is incomplete, unusually thick on one side, or the design appears misaligned, it may be a striking issue. If you see raised lines, extra metal, or unusual cracks in the design, it could be a die crack or die break. Some die cracks are minor, while stronger ones can create more collector interest. The key is that the feature should be raised, natural to the strike, and not look like a scratch or cut. Now let's talk about the $171,000 value. Online platforms and listings can show very high prices, but asking price is not always the same as actual selling price. Anyone can list a coin for a huge amount, but serious value depends on proof. A 1992D Lincoln penny can only reach a major premium if it has the right rare variety, a confirmed mint error, outstanding condition, and professional certification. That is why you should never believe value based only on a title or random listing. You need real identification and grading. If you believe you have a rare 1992D penny, the first rule is simple. Do not clean it. Do not rub it, wash it, polish it, or use chemicals. Hold it only by the edges and place it in a small coin holder. Then take clear photos of the front, the back, the date, the mint mark, the AM in America, the FG initials, and any unusual marks or errors. Good photos can help collectors and experts give a better opinion. After that, compare your coin with verified close AM examples and certified auction records. If your coin truly looks rare, consider sending it to a professional grading company. Certification can make a big difference when selling, because buyers want confidence. They want to know the coin is genuine, the variety is correct, and the grade is official. Without certification, it can be very difficult to sell a penny for a high amount. When it comes to selling, you have several options. You can sell through eBay, coin collector groups, local coin shops, online marketplaces, or professional auction houses. But for a coin you believe could be worth serious money, do not rush. Get it checked first. A rare certified coin can bring much more attention than a raw coin with no proof. The better your evidence, the stronger your selling position becomes. So before you spend a 1992D Lincoln penny, take a closer look. Check the D mint mark. Turn the coin over. Look at the A and M in America. Inspect the FG initials. Check the condition, color, strike, rim, edge, and surface. Look for doubling, off-center errors, die cracks, and unusual minting details. Most 1992D pennies are common, but the rare ones are the reason collectors keep searching through pocket change. And, like I said at the beginning, if you have this coin, it might turn the tables for you, but only if it has the rare variety, the right condition, or a verified mint error. The real price depends on inspection, grading, demand, and proof. If you want to know the price of your 1992 D Lincoln penny and the proper selling procedure, comment price in the comment box, and I will tell you its price and how you can sell it step by step. A single 5-cent coin has shocked collectors by being linked to eye-catching, asking prices and exceptional auction results that reach as high as $551,000 for the rarest examples. That is why thousands of people have started searching through old jars, inherited collections, and forgotten coin albums looking for one specific coin, the 1964 D Jefferson Nickel. If you have ever saved old pocket change or know someone who has, this ordinary-looking nickel could completely change the way you look at spare coins. Stay with me until the end, because I will also explain what makes certain examples so valuable and reveal how you can find out whether yours deserves professional attention. The 1964 D Jefferson Nickel was struck at the Denver Mint during one of the busiest years in American coin production. Billions of nickels were made that year because the United States was experiencing a coin shortage, and the mint worked around the clock to keep coins flowing into circulation. At first glance, that sounds like the opposite of rarity. If billions were produced, why would anyone pay an incredible amount for one? The answer is simple. Collectors are not paying extraordinary prices for just any 1964 D Jefferson Nickel. They are searching for coins with exceptional preservation, remarkable strike quality, rare die varieties, and unique minting characteristics that separate them from the millions of ordinary examples. The smallest difference can transform a common nickel into one of the most desirable modern collectibles. The first thing you should do is check the reverse of the coin. Look beneath Monticello for the large letter D. That's small. Mint mark confirms the coin was struck in Denver. While the mint mark alone does not make the coin valuable, it is the starting point for identifying the correct issue. Next, examine the overall condition. Most surviving examples have scratches, dull surfaces, worn details, and damaged edges because they circulated for decades. Collectors pay the highest premiums for coins that appear almost untouched. Sharp details on Jefferson's hair, clear lettering, strong steps on Monticello, and brilliant original luster are all signs that your coin deserves a closer look. One of the biggest factors collectors study is the strike. During the high-speed production of 1964, many nickels were weakly struck. Coins with unusually crisp details stand out immediately. The stronger the strike, the greater the collector interest becomes, especially when the coin has remained in outstanding condition for more than 60 years. Another important feature is the famous full steps designation. If the steps leading up to Monticello remain complete and uninterrupted, professional grading companies may recognize the coin with this highly respected designation. Only a small percentage of surviving coins qualify because even tiny imperfections can prevent the full steps label from being awarded. That is one reason certified examples often command much stronger prices. Now look closely for unusual mint errors. A double die may create extra thickness in letters or numbers. Die cracks can leave raised lines across the surface. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and die chips also attract collectors because they reveal unusual events during the minting process. Even though these errors are uncommon, they are among the first things experienced collectors search for. Take a careful look at the coin's edge as well. The edge should be smooth because Jefferson nickels are not reeded. Damage, filing marks, or unusual distortions may indicate post-mint damage instead of a genuine mint error. So learning the difference is very important before assuming a coin is valuable. Color and surface preservation matter more than many people realize. A coin with natural mint luster, minimal contact marks, and attractive eye appeal usually receives far more attention than one with cleaning, scratches, or artificial polishing. In fact, cleaning an old coin can significantly reduce its collector value, even if it appears shinier afterward. If you think you have a special example, leave it exactly as you found it. Authentication is another essential step. Professional grading companies carefully inspect a coin's authenticity, condition, strike quality, and any special characteristics before assigning an official grade. High-grade certified examples are the ones that attract the strongest bidding from serious collectors because buyers have confidence in their authenticity and preservation. Many people make the mistake of assuming every old coin is worth a fortune. That is simply not true. Most 1964 D. Jefferson nickels are worth only a modest amount above face value if they are circulated. The extraordinary prices reported online are generally connected to exceptional certified examples with remarkable quality, important varieties, or highly desirable characteristics. That is why careful examination is so important before making assumptions. If you have several 1964 D. Jefferson nickels, compare them side by side. Differences in strike sharpness, surface quality, luster, and overall eye appeal become much easier to notice when multiple coins are viewed together. Sometimes the best example in a small group is immediately obvious. Many valuable discoveries happen in places people rarely think to search. Old coffee cans, inherited collections, family piggy banks, forgotten dresser drawers, antique shops, estate sales, and bank coin rolls have all produced impressive collector finds over the years. Countless valuable coins remained hidden simply because nobody realized what they were looking at. One reason collectors enjoy searching through Jefferson nickels is that every coin tells a story about American history. The 1964 D issue represents an era when the mint was producing enormous quantities of coins to meet public demand, yet within that massive production, a handful of extraordinary examples emerged that continue to fascinate collectors today. As collector demand grows and more, high-quality examples become locked away in permanent collections. Premium certified coins often become even more difficult to obtain. Competition among advanced collectors is one reason remarkable examples can generate tremendous excitement whenever they appear for sale. So before you spend another old nickel, slow down and inspect it carefully. Check the date, confirm the D mint mark, study the strike, examine the steps of Monticello, inspect the lettering, look for unusual errors, and pay close attention to the overall condition. The coin sitting unnoticed in a drawer today could be far more interesting than you ever imagined. Earlier I mentioned that this coin has been associated with astonishing values and that I would explain how you can find out whether yours could be one of the special examples. Instead of revealing everything right now, I want to hear from you first. Comment the word price along with the condition of your 1964 D. Jefferson nickel in the comment section, and I will tell you its potential value and explain the selling procedure. Stop scrolling for just a moment, because the coin sitting quietly in your pocket, an old coin jar, or a forgotten collection could be worth far more than anyone would ever imagine. Today we're uncovering the story behind the 1959 D. Jefferson nickel, a seemingly ordinary 5-cent coin that has shocked collectors with reported values reaching as high as $531,000 on online marketplaces, auctions, and collector platforms for extraordinary examples. Most people would never think twice before spending a nickel, but one rare piece could completely change someone's financial future. If you have a 1959 D. Jefferson nickel, it might turn the tables for you. So stay with me until the very end, because I'll reveal why this coin became so valuable, what makes certain examples incredibly rare, and how collectors attempt to sell these remarkable coins. The Jefferson nickel has been part of American history since 1938, honoring Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and the author of the Declaration of Independence. On the reverse is Jefferson's famous home, Monticello, one of the most recognizable buildings ever placed on an American coin. Millions of these nickels pass through the hands of Americans every day, buying groceries, paying bus fares, filling vending machines, and disappearing into piggy banks. Because they were so common, very few people thought about preserving them in perfect condition. The 1959 D. Jefferson Nickel was struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark on the reverse beneath Monticello. More than 160 million examples were produced, making it appear to be one of the least likely coins to become valuable. Yet collectors know that rarity is not always about low mintage. Sometimes a coin becomes valuable because only a tiny number survive in extraordinary condition or display exceptional minting characteristics that separate them from millions of ordinary examples. One reason the finest 1959 D. Jefferson Nickels attract attention is the quality of their strike. During production, some coins received exceptionally sharp details while others came out weakly struck. Collectors carefully inspect Jefferson's hair, facial features, lettering, and the intricate details of Monticello. Coins with crisp design elements and outstanding eye appeal are much harder to find than most people realize. Another important factor is the famous full steps designation. On the reverse of the coin, the steps leading to Monticello are examined under magnification. If the steps are fully visible without significant interruptions, the coin may qualify for the coveted full steps designation. This feature is extremely desirable because many nickels from this period do not display complete step details due to dye, wear or striking pressure. A genuine full steps example in superb condition can command dramatically higher prices than an ordinary. Coin condition is everything in the rare coin market. A circulated 1959 D. Jefferson nickel that spent decades changing hands may only be worth its face value or slightly more to collectors. However, a coin preserved in nearly perfect mint state condition with original luster, no wear, and minimal contact marks becomes a completely different story. Professional grading companies carefully evaluate these characteristics before assigning a grade that can significantly influence market value. Collectors also search for unusual mint errors. Although they are uncommon, off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, clipped planchets, and other production mistakes can transform an ordinary nickel into a highly sought-after collectible. Every error tells a story about what happened inside the U.S. Mint during production, making these coins fascinating historical artifacts as well as valuable collectibles. Many people unknowingly damage potentially valuable coins by cleaning them. A polished coin may appear shiny, but experienced collectors usually prefer original surfaces with natural luster. Cleaning often leaves microscopic scratches that reduce collector demand and lower market value. If you believe you have an unusual 1959 D. Jefferson nickel, the safest approach is to leave it exactly as you found it. Checking your coin carefully is surprisingly easy. First, confirm the date is 1959. Next, look for the D mint mark. Examine both sides under good lighting and a magnifying glass. Look for strong details, complete steps on Monticello, unusual doubling or any striking errors. Even small differences can make a significant impact when experienced collectors evaluate a coin. Authentication is one of the most important steps before believing any high-value claim. Serious collectors rely on respected third-party grading companies to verify authenticity and assign professional grades. Certified coins often inspire greater confidence among buyers because their condition has been independently confirmed. Stories of remarkable discoveries continue to inspire coin hunters around the world. Valuable nickels have been found inside inherited collections, estate sales, forgotten bankrolls, old dresser drawers, and even spare change. These discoveries remind collectors that hidden treasures can still